And the one thing I can tell you after all of this experience, the biggest thing I can tell you, my biggest takeaway of really getting broken down and building back up is that it will make you 100% a better practitioner. So the other day, I was treating a very experienced practitioner, a beautiful, beautiful person, and we were just trading stories about, our origin stories, how we got started in the acupuncture industry. And I started telling her a little bit about mine, and I reflected back at that moment on how hard it's really been, on how many hurdles and how many walls I've had to climb to get to the point I am at. And so don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to say that I'm someone special or that I'm an amazing practitioner, because let's all be honest, we're all still learning and we're all still trying to perfect our craft. And the most important thing is that we're not losing sight, that the most important thing is that the better that we are at our craft, the better our patients are going to feel, the more people we can help. And that is the most important thing. So that being said, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the barriers that I've faced, learning what I have learned up until this point, so that you can understand that it's totally normal to feel frustrated and scared and unsure, and not, like that you're not giving what you can to your clients, and to realize that that's all totally normal and that's a good thing that you're feeling. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that little bell to know when I'm uploading a new video for ShinKyu University. It is my mission to help as many people as possible around the world to become more confident and competent in their acupuncture practices, and in specific in their Japanese acupuncture and moxa Western practices, so that way they can help more people. I'm really just a Japanese medicine nerd and a geek. It's the most exciting thing in the world for me. So, if you're more interested in learning about ShinKyu University and how you can geek out with me, learning more advanced techniques and practices, all the way down to how to utilize your ki better, then go ahead and put in the comments below, I want in, and I'll make sure to give you a contact. You can also set up a link to get an interview and become part of the university. I'll put that in the description box below. So without further ado, let's talk about some crying, because man, did I cry. I know a lot of you know a little bit about of how I got into this industry, but to start at the very beginning, I had wanted to be an acupuncturist for my whole life. I'd gotten really bad migraines as a child. I was actually born cross-eyed. I didn't have what's called binocular vision. And so when I would look at you through one eye, like this eye, and it kind of still happens, this eye will actually start to travel a little bit. And I had a lot of surgeries on my eyes, and because of that probably, and a combination wearing really thick glasses as a kid to cosmetically try to fix my eyes, I got really horrible migraines. And it was one of the only times in my whole life that my mom didn't give me medicine, that she actually did acupressure on me. She did it at LI4, and I was absolutely amazed that it worked, and I stole her little acupressure book out of the crawl space. In all fairness, she wasn't using it, so but I stole her book, and to this day I've never read that book. I only looked at the pictures over and over and over again, because I'm a very visual learner. At the time I didn't understand that, but I just kept looking at them, and then I would practice on anybody and everybody, and I would try to be really empathetic about it and understand like idiosyncrasies about their life through the touch. And I didn't realize that this was the beginning of me starting to build a palpation practice. I would try to figure out what was going on through their hands by touching their hands and giving them a massage through their hands. And then eventually I got acupuncture at a school downtown here in Colorado, and it was amazing, and I was floored. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Screw acupressure, acupuncture is where it's at. And I just kept going to get it. I got it a few times, and I was like, I want to do this. I'm going to graduate early from high school, which I did. Graduated at 16, and I was going to go straight into acupuncture school. And my good Jewish mother, she was like, no, you got to get a real degree, honey. So I did. And I got a real degree in Japanese language and civilization. And I kept putting off going to acupuncture school. Did a lot of odd jobs. I was a kayak instructor and a raft guide and a tour guide in Japan and English teacher, and I did a lot of teaching jobs, oddly enough, which is funny now that I kind of teach acupuncture, but did a lot of teaching, a lot of hands-on physical teaching. And then eventually I was working at a restaurant, and it was a really horrible, I had a horrible boss, and I had a mental breakdown. And I had a full-on mental breakdown where I couldn't go to work. I didn't call in. I didn't let them know I was quitting. I just couldn't go. I couldn't even talk to them anymore. And I decided at that point, I actually cried leaving the restaurant that I was working at and in Japan. And I cried leaving and cried on the train. And I cried at home. And at the time, my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, he was like, okay, well, you should have told them. That's something you should tell people when you're quitting. It's like, yeah, I know, but I can't tell them. I was just crying, and I was so upset. And I was really depressed, and I had a lot of anxiety about going back to work, and I really thought about, okay, what do I want to do with my life? And what my brain kept coming back to was that I want to be an acupuncturist. And I just kept coming back there, and I had a few other things that happened in between. I convinced my husband's friend to even become an acupuncturist before I decided I wanted to do it. And he got into acupuncture school, or was trying to at the time, and I was like, man, you're stealing my dream. That's my dream, not your dream. But anyway, I decided, I was like, I'm gonna become an acupuncturist. And so I told my husband, I'm going to acupuncture school here. And he was like, great. It's a lot of money. It's like, my school all in all was about $60,000 US. At Toyo ShinKyu University, and I mean, here in the US it's way more money than that, but in any case, he was like, before you spend all that money, go and get a job working a desk, and just work the desk and clean the toilets, and do it for free if you have to, but work there for a year for full time, and then at that point, if you still want to do it, then I'll support you, and we'll work on this together to get you into school. It was an amazing idea. But it really did start the beginning of the tears for me. So I started as an apprentice at Acura Acupuncture Clinic in Shibuya. Amazing clinic. Dr. Taiken-jo is the owner of the clinic. Really took me under his wing, and I worked 40-hour work weeks, and then taught English in the evenings to make money because I wasn't paid. It was a volunteer job, and I would clean the toilets. I would do anything and everything, as long as they would let me stand at the end of the bed with a little piece of paper and scrap paper and just scribble the points that they were doing on the body, because I didn't even know what points they were doing. I didn't know anything. And I learned everything from how to make the bed properly, how to fold a sheet properly, how to clean behind a toilet properly, how to check in patients at the front desk, how to answer a phone properly in Japanese. Like, all of these little things that you should learn as an apprentice, I did learn. And I was very grateful for that. And they even helped me get into school. I decided I really did want to go to school 6 months in, and I applied. And at the year apprentice mark, I was starting my first year at Toyo ShinKyu University, which is a phenomenal educational school, not only in theory, but especially in practical, hands-on. It's a traditional school. But then I had to learn all of this medical knowledge in Japanese. And so throughout my apprenticeship, there was a lot of times when I didn't know how to say something, or I said something really embarrassing for the patient, or, I'd be on the phone with a patient, and Dr. Joe would yell out of the clinic room and correct my Japanese in front of a room full of people. And then there was a point, actually, when I was in school already, where my main mentor at Acura Acupuncture Clinic decided, I still kind of don't know what happened in the situation, but I really pissed her off in some way, and she decided that I was no longer worth teaching. And if you are familiar with Japanese women, they are the strongest, most resilient women on the planet, as far as I know. I mean, they're stronger than Jewish women, and that says a lot. But they're really, they're powerhouses. And when they love you, they love you. And when they decide they don't, they don't. and it's a pretty hard stop. And it was a very hard experience because she pretty much told me that I should quit the company, and she was very mean to me and bullied me a lot, and all I wanted to do was apologize to her. And I really didn't know what I had done wrong, which I still don't know, and I really wish she would have told me. It was such a hard experience, and I cried so many times at work because of that, because of her just blatantly embarrassing me in front of people for something that I had obviously made a mistake on, though. She was not in the wrong for calling me out, but it was a lot of really hard experiences and a really hard on-the-job training of learning social skills within a Japanese workplace, and a lot of hard lessons. I learned a lot of hard lessons on the job. And then, when I was in school, I'm a horrible test taker, for those of you who don't know, a lot of test anxiety. And so when I was in school, every time we had a midterm or a final exam, I would essentially have a mental breakdown, and I would fail, or I would do quite poorly, or I would do exceptional, but I still would have a mental breakdown about it, because I'm just really bad at tests. And I still remember at one point, like, it was a huge win in my educational career. I was in biology class in Japanese, who was taught by a phenomenal professor who was actually from China, who spoke Chinese and Japanese fluently, and he was a professional chef. Like, he was amazing. But I had gotten I think I had gotten like a low B or a high C. And for those of you who don't understand the Japanese educational system, in that system, everyone's scores are publicized along with their name. And so for my biology exam, for the midterm exam, he read our names and our scores in alphabetical order, going down the list. And so everyone knew how everybody did. And that was both for the acupuncture and moxa track, and the acupuncture, moxa and massage track, because we had that class together. So about 60 students in one class, and you were ranked. And you knew your rank. And that is really hard, especially when you're studying in a foreign language. And then there's also other bits, like there's a lot of Korean students who do exceptionally well in school. They're very good students on the whole, at least in my school, the ones I knew. And so I was always kind of like comparing myself to them, and it was a huge mental hurdle. And then I had a great, what we call a kohai. She's an incredible practitioner in Japan. She was a practitioner in Australia, and she did phenomenal on all of her classes, which I did not. Like, I actually had a baby at the end of my beginning second year of school, so I took off almost 6 months, but still continued in classes, although I wasn't really attending, which was a huge deficit in my learning. I had a lot of things I had to catch up on. And then, when it came to national exams in Japan, oh God, national exams in Japan, I failed once, passed the second time, but all of their tests are one test, essentially. It's one main test that happens once a year for, I want to say it's like a 4-hour long span. I think it's 2 or 3 hours in the morning and 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon. And the first time I failed, and I failed by like 2 questions on my moxa exam and 3 questions on my acupuncture exam. And it was devastating. It was, I don't think I've been I can't even put words to how hard that experience was. For those of you who have failed a national exam, it's so hard on your self-esteem. And it was really hard for me as well, because I was always the one who excelled as the practical application in class. Like, in class, I could feel what the teacher was feeling for the most part. I was able to apply techniques quite quickly and learn the technical application quite quickly, but I failed my exam. So I was top of my class technically, and maybe middle to bottom, on test scores, and then I failed the exam, which means that you fail. You cannot practice the acupuncture moxa in Japan if you don't have a license. You cannot do it. I do not recommend doing it. So I had to study a whole nother year in order to take one test. And before I took that second test, my hair started falling out in clumps. Like, I started getting dermatitis on my scalp, and I went to the doctor, and he was like, it's from stress. You know, I was so stressed that my hair was falling out. And yeah, it was really bad. And at the time, I also had a toddler. He, you know, and I was pregnant with my second child during the second test, which is a really bad idea. Don't take national exams while you're pregnant or nursing. It's, if you can avoid it, it's a bad idea. So that happened, and I finally passed my second exam, and then my hair, my scalp all healed. And then a few years later, Fukushima also happened during that time. For those of you who don't know, a big nuclear explosion happened in Japan. And my husband and I decided that with small children, it would be better for us to move back to the United States. And so we did. And so we moved back, but now that I'm in the United States, I don't have a license again. So I can't practice again. And so which means I have to go back to school again. And I have to take national exams again. And so I spent 5 years and over $20,000 to switch my license to the United States. I had to take 2 semesters of school at Southwest Acupuncture College in Boulder in order to get my credentials. And then I had to take 3 national exams, foundations, biology, and acupuncture points. And I failed my foundations exam, which is funny because I actually felt that I was quite strong in theory, but apparently not in TCM theory. So for those of you who don't know, TCM theory and Japanese theory are 2 totally different things. They are not the same at all. So biology, no problem. I do well in biology and anatomy. Points, no issues, passed. Foundations, I failed twice. It took me 3 times to pass that test. So for those of you who have failed the national board exams here in the States, I feel you. It's really hard, and it does not speak at all of your ability in the clinic. Your ability to practice has nothing to do with your ability to take a test. Hands down, 100%, every single day. And if it does, I'm kind of screwed because I've failed so many. I mean, I've just failed so many exams, and it's taken me so long to get to this point, and I've been broken down so many times, both on the job, by exams, in school, by finances, trying to afford paying for all of this, having to break down and ask your parents to help you pay for this while you trying to get a job to support your family. And I'm finally here. And the one thing I can tell you after all of this experience, the biggest thing I can tell you, my biggest takeaway of really getting broken down and building back up is that it will make you 100% a better practitioner. You will be a better practitioner the more hardship that you go through, the more sickness that you go through, the more times that you fail, the more times you know how to do something right, and the more times you understand how it feels to fail, and then how that emotionally and physically affects people. And then when someone comes in who has failed, or that they feel they've failed, even if it's not a fail, you will know and have the empathy to be able to understand what that feels like for them, because you've felt it and you've dealt with it and you've gotten through it. And I can't even stress this enough, don't disregard your failings. Don't discount them, embrace them, and enjoy. It's kind of weird to say enjoy them, but they are what makes you incredible at your job. And that's really what we all strive for, is to be incredible at our jobs, so that way we can be incredible for our patients, and that way our patients can feel better. And that's the important takeaway here. So if you're a new practitioner, or if you're an old practitioner, but especially for the new ones, and you just feel like, I don't know what to do. I'm not sure what to do. I don't have the confidence. I don't have the competence. I wasn't taught this. There's so many ways that you can continue to learn and embrace that feeling. Really embrace it. You know, there's no reason to run from it or put up false confidence that you know what you're doing when you don't. If you don't know what you're doing, embrace it, and then find the mentors and the teachers that can help you find that confidence. And then through your patience, build that confidence, build that expertise, practice that technique. Every single time you have a patient on your table, practice it with yourself, practice on yourself, on your family members, on your kids, on your dogs, on your cat. I don't care. Practice. You know, there's 3 ways to get good at anything and to get over anything. And that's time, energy, and effort. And without those 3 things, you're never gonna, well, I don't want to say never, but I can't get through anything. I can't become better at anything. So it's a long story, but I really do hope that this inspired you to embrace what you might feel as your failings, or that to embrace what you might feel as the hardships in your life, and to really embrace them and love them and take them as part of you and as what makes you great, because it really, really does. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, please do hit like, subscribe, hit the little bell to get notified when I put up new videos. And if you feel that, if you know another acupuncturist or practitioner, they don't even have to be an acupuncturist, but if you know another practitioner that is struggling, maybe they're just out of the gate, maybe they've been in it in 20 years, but they're struggling and they're trying to find themselves and find the confidence and the competence, please share this video with them. And hopefully together we all can become better at what we do, and that way we can help more people to feel their best. Keep practicing.